Does everyone hear each other for once?
Yes.
Ben, you can hear Mooney, and Mooney, you can hear Ben. Everyone's good. Everyone got their. Everyone
Oh, no, Ben has a glass that's like the picture.
That's right. I'm all about branding.
Snaps finger.
Now, did you guys drink a lot during the season back in the day, or did it depend on the level you guys were playing at?
Drank a lot.
No, JUCO, Oklahoma City. No, I mean, because usually football, basketball, they're pretty disciplined, or that's what you hear. So baseball has a little bit of a different culture.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'll say first, just that pitching can be a little bit different, especially in the starter's role. You know your days off, which can that can make it a lot easier to manage. Unlike position player Moon, I'm sure you could talk to that, where like every day it's the next day, where a starting pitcher, you got time to recover.
Was there a difference between like in football, there's offense, defense, right? There's not a lot of synergy between. It seems like they're almost two different units. Is that kind of the same in baseball with pitchers and position players?
Yeah, on the baseball field, I would say yes. Off the field, I think it was different. We all like hung out and like did everything together. But on the field, like pitchers and position players are like, unless it's in the locker room, they don't even like hang out with each other.
Yeah. Is that right, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the best teams I was on, we all hung out, on a regular.
Always been puzzling with baseball, like in other sports, in football and in basketball, the coaches are always so demonstrative. You always see kind of communication with the players and so forth. But in baseball, I guess maybe because it's like so many games during the season, and there's no real emotion from the manager during the actual game. Like if a manager gets into a player's face, it like makes news. If it happens like once over 162. What Moon, like what happens when like a hitter strikes out or goes in a 1-for-20 slump? What's is the manager pissed at you? Is he getting mad at you? Is he in your dish? Is he like, hey, or is it just kind of like, hey, there's a game tomorrow?
If during my pro career, if I went 1-for-20 and a manager got my dish, he was going to get in the hospital.
Really?
Oh, I would have whooped his ass. I'm not going to name names, but there was one time where one of my managers, I swung at like a slider in the dirt or something, and he like chirped at me from the third base coach's box. I'm like, I looked at him like, what? And I'm like, I couldn't even believe it. And my teammates were like, that was so bullshit. But yeah, the manager's job is to like make you as the best person you can be. Like most of the time, a manager's they just make teams worse. If they're a bad manager, they just make you worse. If they're just like a normal manager that is just like a good players coach, blah blah blah, and you say you have like a bunch of good players, just don't do anything, and the team will succeed. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But sometimes managers, they just want to like, hey, I have the talent. Let's go win. You know what I mean?
How about you, Ben? If you like gave up a bomb or getting shelled, is the manager like, hey, get your shit together? Or what's his what's the kind of, what happens in those situations?
Yeah. The later I played, the less that happened. Early on, especially early on in college, I got chewed out quite a bit.
For what?
For kind of simple mistakes from a pitcher's aspect, but like 0-2, just throw something right down the middle, like just kind of things you should know, and you're kind of young or overconfident, and so things like that, especially early on, I got reamed. The later I got into it, the less that happened.
Now, take me through an at bat. Let's say
all levels.
all levels, huh?
Yeah.
Let's go bases loaded, 2 outs, top of the 9th. Ben, you're on the hill. Mooney's coming up to bat. Pitching coach or whoever comes up to the mound. What's that conversation like? And then what's your approach as knowing Mooney as a hitter and so forth? What's going on? I've always been curious as far as what those mound visits look like. What are they saying? What are they talking about? What's the catcher saying? Is he chirping, etc.?
Yeah, well, that specific scenario is probably going back to the earlier at bats that he had in the game.
It is.
And what worked in those at bats, what didn't, if there was a plan for a setup, how that would play out, or if there wasn't a plan for a setup and it's just like, hey, I mean, this guy's on fire, like we got to be super careful, or it's like, you know what, we've kind of anticipated this and earlier we pitched him this way, we're going to try to surprise them at this point.
How are you going to, what's your approach? How are you going to try to get Mooney out? What's his scouting report? What don't you want to miss with, etc.?
We're going to feed the ego and we're going to accidentally miss with a 4-seam around eye level, get his eyes real big. Make him think that big juicy fastball's coming at 80 poo, and then we're gonna throw a 2-seam in there and start it little middle in and get it to run in on his hands and jam his ass.
Got it.
You got me. You did get me once with that.
Now, Moon, vice versa. You're on the on deck circle. Let's say you've had decent at bat. What's your mindset now? Is your manager, is your hitting coach saying something to you, or do you kind of know what you're doing? Are you guys going kind of back to the scouting report pregame, and how much does that actually play?
So, honestly, Ben kind of hit everything on the point. Just imagine reversing the pitcher and the hitter. So he pretty much hit anything on the point. But like, again, if I'm lights out that day, no coach is talking to me. If I'm seeing every ball, I'm taking every ball that's an inch off the plate. If I'm taking good hacks on every fastball, no coach is saying a word to me. Now, if I'm like, just look like a complete zoo up there swinging at everything, then, okay, maybe one of the coaches will take me aside, like, hey, this is where, like, we have to have a little bit of a mental talk. But for instance, like, yeah, for like Ben's point, like, okay, yeah, I was on fire. Okay, let's try to get, like, I'm obviously feeling very, very confident, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's throw a 4-seam, like maybe an inch or two above the strike zone, to get him to start doing stupid stuff. And then if I start doing stupid stuff, he has the advantage. But then here's the other thing, like, I'm assuming I'm facing a different pitcher in the 9th inning, right? Not the same starter. So you never know. Like, there's been times where I suck against the starter all game. And there was this guy when I was playing independent ball, I think his name was like, obviously we're in Canada, so I think his name was like Patrick Roy or something. But his last name was Roy. And he had a 0 ERA all year.
Okay.
0 ERA. I hit 2 bombs off him in one series.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he's like, what the hell? This is bullshit. One was like 500 foot, not 500 foot, but definitely way over 400. Line drive to the left, and another one was oppo to right. He's like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
And so, like, and I hadn't gotten, like, I barely got any hits in the series. I just saw the ball well out of that guy's hand.
Right.
So that's something that's one of those intangible things that no scouting report could ever see.
You know what's crazy?
Well, and sorry, but real quick, just to add on to that, it's, one of the things that we were always taught was the score, inning, count, hitter, and outs. So when you pre-pitch, think about all those things, that kind of dictates where that at bat's going. Just to throw that in there.
You know what's crazy about the sport of baseball is that 85% of it, I would say, is what you see on your TV. It's the pitcher, batter, catcher. I mean, that whole kind of metric is so darn interesting to me. What goes on in that situation, Moon? Is there been any situation where the catcher's just chirping at you, where it actually got to you? And Ben, has there ever been a catcher you work with where it's like, hey, he's helping me? I mean, whether it's calling pitches, whether it's, he has your back and talking to the batter, or getting under his head, so forth.
I'm going to let Ben take the reins on this one, considering he did that dynamic way more than I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get to the chirping part.
Yeah.
Let's let Ben go first on this one.
Absolutely. I was extremely fortunate by the time I got to college to have some exceptional catchers. Defensively, they were incredible and smart, and like the guys that I had an opportunity to play with and pitch to, I don't know that a lot of people get that opportunity. So when you get in a groove with a catcher or you're in sync with them, you kind of know what's happening, both of you, before anything's even called. But I have had those scenarios where you get something where it's just there's no vibe whatsoever between you and the catcher, and that becomes extremely difficult because
like in what way?
The
Oklahoma City pitcher you're talking to me a little bit.
Pitch calling, number one, it can be tough because sometimes it comes from the catcher, sometimes it comes from the coach.
Okay.
So that could be something where you can't shake the coach, but you could shake the catcher if it's coming from him. And so it's kind of tricky, and each scenario is a little bit different. But I got super lucky with the catchers that I had.
How about if you had, you're telling me about the Oklahoma City catcher one day. It was a big hitting catcher, runner on first, fastball outside all day?
Always. Always, yeah. Everyone knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. So, you just got to hope that the other team doesn't know that. Because they want that opportunity to throw the guy out at second.
Moon, I want to hear from you, but before I do, I want to ask one thing. Now, there's always the famous scene in Bull Durham, right, where the catcher Kevin Costner tells the pitch that's coming because the pitcher's constantly shaking him off. Has that ever happened? Where the opposing catcher?
Oh, 100%. You just don't see. You can't.
You're kidding me.
You can't see it. You don't know what, whenever, if you watch, obviously the big leagues it's harder now because TVs are super HD.
Right.
You can almost read people's lips on there now.
Yeah.
But hitters, when they put their heads down, lots of the time they're saying something. Catchers, they have freedom to do whatever they want because nobody can see their face. But there's always verbal communication going between the hitter and the catcher unless they don't like each other. Or I guess you can go both ends of the spectrum. I'm just talking shit to the catcher the whole time because I think I don't like him, or vice versa. But
so that's happened where a catcher's intentionally giving you the pitch?
Oh, 100%. They'll be like, hey, I'm going to fastball right down the middle. But a lot of times it's true. There was one time when I faced Chuck Lofgren, who was a Sarah graduate, freshman when I was a senior.
Right.
And he was with the Indians, and I think we're in Akron or something like that. Yeah, I think that was the AA. And we'd talked before, and the catcher's like, so you went to high school with this guy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's probably going to throw you a fastball down the middle right now. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. What did I do? Pop it right up. But lots of times, they'll talk to you to distract you.
Okay.
But for me, sometimes that would actually work to my benefit. I'm like, oh, I'm relaxed, having a little conversation in the batter's box. I'm not even actually. I hated knowing what was coming. So like when me and Ben played at CSM, we did a great job. The hitters would of stealing the signs of like the pitcher or the catcher, and we would like have relay signs if we were on second base. I never wanted it. Never wanted it once. I'm like, I just want to be able to get ready to hit whatever the fastest fastball is for that pitcher, and then see what comes out of his hand. Not everyone was like that. Other people benefited immensely from knowing the ball. I never did. So like that's like one of those like things that you will never see on a piece of paper, like or a scouting report.
Wow.
That still happens in the big leagues all the time. Just you pay for it in big leagues. Or you pay for it at every level, to be honest.
Was there a lot of film and scouting reports before games? I know in football and basketball, there's a ton. How much is there in with the pitcher and catcher and meeting with the coaches and film and that sort of thing? Or is it just kind of like, hey, here's the overall scouting report?
When I played, it was more on paper scouting reports. There wasn't film, anything like that, and I kind of preferred it that way. And to be honest, it'll sound cocky or conceited, but I could care less about who the hitter was on the other team. In my opinion, 100% of the time, that person was inferior, whether that was accurate or not.
Yeah.
It's just, I wouldn't want to give a hitter respect, who gets in the box, and you want to challenge pretty much everyone.
Moon?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even when I like brought Feldman up to AT&T Park in like 2016, 17, the old video room still had like VHS tapes of like all my old teammates from like back in the day. And I had ones back there too. I'm like, and I would always like when I would work out there in the off season, I'm like, why the hell do I not get to watch this?
Yeah.
But no, honestly, same thing with Ben. Like, obviously in 03 to 09, there's cameras everywhere. And that's just right when it started, like, you know how in like video games they put all those little like balls on the players that track their motions?
Yeah.
That just started happening towards later in my career. And that's when all the video and technology stuff started happening. Just to analyze swings. But we wouldn't, I don't think before one game my entire life I ever saw a pitcher throw before I faced him on video.
Wow.
Considering 09 was my last year with the Giants.
Yeah. It would have been weird to see someone on film. Like, to me, that would have been odd. Like, wow. We're really concerned about this person.
Guys, I want to jump a little bit to the level of talent. Now, me as a spectator and a baseball fan, obviously, I couldn't tell you why a player in single A or double A isn't playing in the major leagues, right? They're striking guys out. They're throwing this hard. I don't know the difference. And I would say most baseball fans don't know the difference either. Ben, you were an All-American in junior college. You got to the next level, NAIA, and then all of a sudden it just kind of stopped. You've seen batters and get to a certain level, such as a Daniel Nava, Mike Mooney, so forth. What's the level like when you're dominating JUCO at a certain level, and then you face a hitter at an absolute next level? What's the difference from a fan that just, like I said, just doesn't understand it because never been there? Go through a little bit more in depth of what the challenges is as far as you as a pitcher and what the difference is.
I mean, I think confidence probably, it's one of those things when I was playing at the JUCO level, I'd work my ass off to get onto the field, number one. But when I did, I'd never wanted to get taken off the field. And when I was facing lineups, I felt like it was, fairly easy once you got past the heart of the order. I'd say at the next level, then it was like, okay, it felt like 1 through 9 was the heart of the order. a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess my point is what I'm looking for more of skill level. So if you face somebody in JUCO and the number 3 hitter in JUCO, and then you're facing Daniel Nava or Mike Mooney, what's the difference in skill level as far as a guy that's about to get drafted, who's played at the next level? Why can't you do certain things to guys you faced at JUCO and were so dominant against those type of hitters? What's the difference?
Well, I mean, to those two hitters in particular, I'd say I treat them both different. And Mooney, I was a lot more concerned with giving up the long ball, where Nava, I just wanted to get him off. I just wanted to get him out of the box. I can't tell you how many times we had inter squads where it'd be like 13, 14 pitch at bats. And it just exhausting me. Like, I'm throwing the kitchen sink at him and I can't get him out of there. And at the end of it, it might be a single or a double that was given up. And it's like, oh, it's only a single or a double, but that was exhausting. And that was brutal. And I just want to get out of this inning as quick as possible. Whereas Mooney, I'm worried about that one pitch that's going to go over the fence. And I know he can do all the other things too, but it's one of those things where I'm more worried about the home run there, and the approach is slightly different.
Moon, now on the flip side of the things, why can't you be just as dominant at JUCO that you were in AA? What's the difference? I know, of course, the level of talent's up there, but describe what that level
the pyramid gets.
Sure, but what is that? Does the fastball move a little more? Is there a little bit more velocity on it? Is the curveball a little bit more tighter? For a fan that doesn't know,
everything above.
So once you get a AA, that league was not a
hitter's league.
So pitchers love just sinking and cutting fastballs 24/7. They wouldn't even mess around with breaking balls as much or changeups because, you hang those, they'll go a mile. But, you have a little bit of movement
on your fastball and you mishit it. Okay, I just hit it 299 feet to center field. No big deal. Whereas you start backspinning a curveball, it goes 400 feet, which is over the fence.
Yeah.
And also all those guys in AA were all anywhere from the stud pitchers, at least, were 20 to 23 years old.
And all first to third rounders. Because the biggest jump in
baseball is not AAA to the big leagues.
It's high A to AA.
Is that right?
Oh, 100%.
Everyone and their mothers agrees on that.
High A to AA is the biggest jump, huh? Bigger than AAA to the majors. Wow.
Oh, by far. Yeah. And all these guys, they would sit there and like you would get the young studs in AAA. Believe me, Gio Gonzalez was in AAA at 20 years old, and that was not a fair fight.
Is that right, huh?
Yeah. Gio Gonzalez was not a fair fight in AAA.
Did you face him?
Oh, yeah.
What made him so filthy?
He decided to throw me 2 curveballs in a row. I'm pretty sure I blacked out on both of them. And then he threw me a fastball at 95. I'm like, I can hit that. I popped up to center field, but I didn't black out on it. I just saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Ben, best coach, worst coach, you don't gotta tell me who it is, but what made your best coach the best coach, and what was his traits compared to somebody that you didn't necessarily have the best time playing for?
Yeah, best coach is easy. Doug Williams, College of San Mateo. Amazing. I cannot say enough good things about him. And the most important thing is second chances. I wasn't deserving of multiple opportunities. I messed up a lot as a teenager, young kid. Wasn't the brightest, but Willingness to stick with someone and give someone a second chance was huge for me. And on top of that, just so many more things. But for me personally, that was the most important. You know, I've had some bad coaches as well. I'd say usually the thing there is like there's no chemistry whatsoever, whether it's wanted or not. You know, sometimes you end up in a spot where you think you're doing everything that the coach wants, and it may not matter. I don't know.
Moon?
I've always said, so like I was very physically talented coming out of CSM. I could do a lot of crazy things, like, and could absolutely carry a team for like a week or a month. And then, but I always would say like the mental game of baseball is
So huge. And it's so hard when everyone's fighting for the same thing. But the coaches don't really care that much.
Really?
they care about like your mechanics. They care about all this other stuff. I'm talking about when I was at the pro level.
Yeah.
So I was always like, back to like what Ben was saying. If I had Doug Williams just like attached to my hip my entire minor league career, I probably would have made the big leagues really quickly.
Wow.
Because it was so hard
to get out of like a 1 for 10 slump with 5 strikeouts or something like that. Now, when you did it, but like I would think about my mechanics all the time. I think about my swing. And I was, you know, at the field 12 hours a day trying to make myself perfect when all I needed to do was have a little powwow with someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Doug Williams is
the
definitely
mental part was huge.
Yeah, 100%.
Now,
Isn't there a difference though from managing professionals to managing college kids?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean there has to be, no?
There's
I would assume.
Yeah, there's a balance though, because now the
Yeah.
more and more you get closer to the big leagues, the more and more it's probably mental, in my opinion. But from what I've been told, and I've been like, you get
let's just use Brandon Bell as an example.
Okay.
Like five or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
He had this really, really weird top hand thing going.
And that worked for him in the minor leagues. It took every coach in that organization to change a mechanical thing on him before they all agreed and he agreed at the same time.
Really?
Why would you not just try it out right away? It makes no sense. Why would
He didn't
you
want to
just
do
not
it?
try out?
He didn't want to do it, or the coaches pushed back, or what was the deal?
He didn't want to do it. Like he just whiffed through 700 fastballs thigh high or waist high in a row. Why would you not try out a mechanical adjustment? And that's a big thing with like the big leagues now are even worse than they were 5+ years ago when it comes to mechanics, because these guys are all cookie cutted now.
What do you mean
And
by
like,
that?
they all think like, I don't know if you guys know what the hitter man guy is. Even the pitchers, they're almost the same way. How do I get my body in the most biologically mechanical position, rather than like someone like Ben Langridge that's like, actually, I'm gonna just see how my body feels today and like get you out with a 2-seamer or a cutter or whatever I want to do with it. I don't care if it's 82 or 92. You know what I mean? That's where like, if I'm not throwing 97 today, like I can't pitch. If I'm not swinging the bat a certain mile per hour, I can't hit today, which is ass backwards. That's why everyone's hitting like 230, and then everyone's throwing balls 24/7.
Yeah, well, and there's got to always be a willingness to adjust. You know, like I got to the junior college, and I was throwing a four. This was crazy. It was a 4-seam fastball, curveball, and a knuckleball. Getting into college, And I got there and I worked with Coach Shevsky, and actually he worked with me. He made a point to teach me these pitches along the way. And we started out with a 2-seam fastball. So quickly, I was able to work with him personally, switch from a 4-seam to a 2-seam and get some movement, which I needed because I didn't have velocity. And then that later on progressed to, okay, let's work on a circle change, which I didn't even know about. Nobody taught me a circle change before getting there. So teaches me that. We work together on that. Then after that, teaches me a slider. Like by the time I entered college with 4-seam, curveball, knuckleball, and I left the JC with 2-seam, circle change, slider, and extreme confidence in all 3 of those pitches. So, it's not going to be like that for everyone, but you have to be willing to try out new things along the way, is what I'm trying to get at.
Last question. Moon, are pitchers easier to hit today than they were when you were playing?
So that's a great question, because I've getting arguments with people all the time now. So when let's just say my left CSM, I could stay inside the ball very well, but I would not stay on top of the ball very well. My top
What's that mean? What's that mean? What you just said? Stay inside and stay on top. What's that actually mean?
Oh, stay inside's more like a right field approach. Like,
okay, I got you. Inside out.
Yeah, and top hand's more like get on top, hit a backspin line drive.
Gotcha.
Nothing wrong with the stay inside approach. It actually helped me see the ball for a really long time. Once I got to the Giants, and let me take a step back. Stay inside the ball when you had a metal bat 20 years ago was great, because you could get jammed to hit the ball 345 feet to right center.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Not off Ben. I hit it like 395 to the left center, but like. But
I'll give you that.
But no, but I'm just saying, like,
the whole point was just to make contact with a metal bat, because you could get a hit even if you hit it like shit. So once you get a wood bat, all the meat is in the head, and you have to handle that because your top hand's your stronger hand.
So you had to, like, my coaches basically took me away, basically reconstructed built my swing back up, and I combined that like bottom hand feel that I got taught by Doug Williams and CSM, which was great. And then I added more top hand to backspin the ball everywhere. So, but that's when people like to sink the ball and throw low in the zone. Then all of a sudden, now when all these pitchers like to throw 95 waist high and above, we're teaching not to stay on top of the ball anymore. When that's exactly when you need to do it, it makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense. All these this, I don't know what his name is, Schneck or something, HLP hitter guy. He does this like, oh,
I want to kill him just so all the other people, all the other kids in the world don't get poisoned by his crap. It's a joke. And I'm like, the guy's never hit anything in his entire life, and now all of a sudden he's 65 teaching kids how to hit fastballs. Oh, I got Aaron Judge randomly. Like, what is this crap? And all we would do back in the day was like put the pitching machine on as fast as possible and try to hit a line drive back up the middle. Now they're trying to hit the ball on the top of the cage.
Is that what they're doing now?
Yes. Yeah. Like, how much launch angle can we have?
Launch angle.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
If I had my swing back in, so for instance, all right, I guess I'll go toot my own horn right now. Back in 2008, I hit in 300 at bats. I hit 250 with 18 bombs. That's like MVP status now. Which is, I thought I had like a very mediocre year, to be honest.
Right. The 250 doesn't mean anything these days.
Oh, that's great average now.
Yeah, the 270s, the new 320.
I know. What is up with that?
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. Ben, easier to pitch to guys now that you see in the hitting approach, or harder? What would you say?
Easier.
Easier, huh?
Yeah, it's got to be way easier. I mean, it's been a while since I towed the rubber, but
Sure.
I could imagine that it'd be a whole lot easier. They're just it's not, the situation like we were talking about earlier, score, inning count, hitter, situational stuff. That's not quite what anyone hitting is concerned with. It's like, all right, what's my personal result? And if you know the person's just worried about what they're gonna do, it's a little bit easier for a pitcher.
Do you guys see any the WBC? Anything different with the style of play from different countries, or is it just is it this kind of just how baseball's kind of evolved? As far as stylistic approach,
I'm just trying to make my thoughts.
Launch angle and the way the Japanese play it, the way the U.S. plays it, the way Puerto Rico may play it, the way the Dominican plays baseball, etc. I'm just curious, or maybe the U.S. is just too talented either way. Pitching's too tough.
I don't think the USA is too talented. I think Dominican might actually beat them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot more interesting this year.
Yeah,
Venezuela too, and Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I really am as well. Gentlemen, thank you as always. We'll see you next week. Run it back and enjoyed it as always.
All right, cheers.